Right. And we're live.
That naming system.
Yeah, we're live with Miller and Muller, and it means this. And you will love this, Jeff. You will love this. I know you won't want to love it and say no, I'll decide whether I love it or not.
I hate it.
But you will not hate the fact that Wojtek was saying that Kersey is his favourite typology.
Well, that's
and
good.
he thinks it's the most accurate when it comes to real life.
Yeah, I agree.
No. I mean, like Kersey with some parts of the socionics. That's my go-to. Like, this seems to make the most sense with observation.
I've just realised this is a Blake 7 review. So we are doing. We are reviewing.
What did you thought it was?
I suddenly went into this thing about.
I was wondering about when you talked on and on about the naming system. Like, what's the problem? It's Blake review.
Yeah, we were talking about Kersey. I mean, if I'd have forgotten, we've got to go and talk about how great Kersey is. Yeah. So the episode trial. I've taken some grabs of, especially we can get to it. We'll get to it later on. Of all of the stuff with Zil and the planet, which, like, when you first view it, is like crazy, but when you look back on it, has fantastic allegory of stuff about freedom and being absorbed into the Federation, that sort of stuff. So, so who would like to go first in their thoughts on the episode?
Well, do you want to tell everybody what happened?
Okay. Yes. Jeff, Jeff is keeping me on point. Right. Here we go. The Liberation book. Now, Jeff, do you want me to read it out in the voice of Aurak?
No.
No. Okay. No. We'll be done. Okay. We have.
When you did that before, that got like the craziest look from Morgan.
No. Right, so we have here trial. I could leave it out in my Avon voice. Okay, I'll read it out in my Avon voice. Consumed with guilt over the events of Pressure Point, Blake retreats into a jungle planet to think things over, but keeps his actual.
Like Robin Leach when you do that.
Is that a good thing or a bad thing?
It depends on who you ask, I guess.
Okay, I'll go back to normal. Blake retreats to a jungle planet to think things over, but keeps his actual location a secret from the rest of the Liberator's crew. In a message, he explains to them that he has left a homing beacon and that he will activate in 13 hours. Should he decide not to return, or the crew decide that they are better off without him, either can choose to ignore the signal. Encountering one of the natives, Zil, Blake learns that the planet itself is a living entity that consumes the creatures on its surface at intervals. To survive, the natives live as solitary individuals. I actually found that storyline quite moving, that she was caring for Blake because she thought that he was like a hatchling. Because of the white glow of the teleport resembled the white eggs. Travis, meanwhile, stands trial for having ordered a massacre on the planet Zercaster. As the evidence is firm and the penalty is execution, this will prevent him from presenting evidence at an inquiry into Servalan's handling of the Blake affair. The crew rescue Blake just prior to his being consumed by the planet. They decide, in order to restore their legend, to strike at Space Command headquarters, which they do just as Travis is sentenced. Travis escapes in the confusion and forces Servalan to give him a ship, going off to pursue his vendetta against Blake as an outlaw. But also Servalan knows, at one point in the episode she said, he's so much better than anything else I've got. And she knows that he will hunt Blake rather than just go off and have a holiday, that he will hunt Blake. And also, there's a little bit there, we're going to talk about restoring their legend. There's self-interest involved there as well, because Blake was saying, oh, and then he mentions bounty hunter might know we're vulnerable, so you might have more people coming after them. Whereas if they do that attack, it then restores their legend. It's like people might be frightened off from going after them. So, who wants to go first? Should I flip a coin? Right then, I have a coin there.
Yeah.
So, here we go. Heads or tails?
Heads.
Right then, here we go.
Tails.
And yes, it's heads. There you go. Come on, Wojtek. You lost the toss. No, you won. Go on.
Where to begin? I mean, there were like 3 separate storylines there. There was the whole trial thing, the Living Planet storyline, and what happened with Servalan and her ambitions. I liked the Living Planet storyline. It was very nicely done. It was because it was such a sci-fi storyline, so that was nice. The trial itself, it went on and on, but I liked Travis's speech at the end, his defense speech. That was good acting, and yeah. Otherwise, not much. I don't have much to say on this episode, so I give it over to Jeff.
As I say, pretty much the opposite of what he said. The stuff on the planet was the weakest part to me, and the stuff with the trial and on the ship, with their attacking the base and stuff, that was the more exciting part. I thought that the new Travis did better in this episode. He was kind of coming into the part a little bit better and didn't come off quite as campy and over the top. Although he had his moments, but the scene with him escaping was pretty well done. And I think that the Supreme Commander, she's better when she's like giving orders than when she's flirting with people or whatever. So the scenes where she's doing the controlling the lawyer, basically, trying to get trying to get rid of Travis through the lawyer, like all those scenes were well done. And I even liked the the trooper coming in to share the drink with him and stuff like that. I didn't have a problem with the concept of the Living Planet, or I thought that part was, it's hard for me to get on something for being unoriginal, because something that's a long time ago, because I remember now I've seen so many different plots that were similar to that, but some of those things have come since then, so I can't get on Blake 7 for, the fact that that's been copied by so many people. But yeah, I mean, I just thought it was sort of a dumb setup to begin with, because it's like, both Morgan and I said, why doesn't he just go to his room and think? Why does he need to go down to some planet he's never been to and by himself and risk his life on whatever would happen down there? So that part didn't make much sense to me. Like, unless there really was some other motive that he didn't share, that he was really trying to explore something there.
There is that scene. Guilt is one bit of it, but then Avon is like totally suspicious of it, and he says, "Well played. You manipulated them very well," with these sort of grand gestures. And plus, Blake might be counting on the fact that he has Jenna, and Jenna's the pilot. No one else can fly the ship, and Avon can't take the ship on his own because he must have a crew, because the way the ship's designed, everyone has their own station.
But of course, we already established in an earlier episode that Even unprepared for the possibility of leaving even without Jenna.
Yeah.
You know, using Aurak to
Yep.
basically escape. So he doesn't think he needs Jenna, even if Blake might think that. But yeah, I mean, if you view it as like he was trying to set it up as a test of loyalty, then I guess it makes a little more sense. But it still seems like a pretty big risk to take just to set that scenario up. So
I think he was guilty. He felt guilty over Gan's death.
well, but that, I mean, okay, but even if he felt guilty, I mean, he was trying to put himself in a position where he might get killed, and you know, take it out on himself.
Yeah, but he didn't know though. I mean,
Well,
you don't think the planet's going to come alive.
Well, right, but you still don't know, and you've obviously seen enough to know when you go down to a planet you've never been to before by yourself, you don't know what you're going to encounter really, and so to assume that somehow everything was going to be hunky dory, I mean, there's just no reason. So that part was a little silly, and the what was her name? Zill?
Yeah.
Yeah, the Zill creature. It reminded me a little bit of some of the like the moth creatures from the Web Planet in Doctor Who. A little bit of like that, but
Sensorites? I think you
No.
said that on commentary.
Well, in looks it was closer to Sensorites, but I was talking about in terms of the way she talked and acted, it was more like the Web Planet because they had this kind of like jerky motions in the way they talked.
Yeah.
Kind of like that.
I thought the actress did well. I mean, good on her for like going with it.
Yeah, well, yeah, it's not. I just didn't like the way the character was done, but it's not the actress's fault. I mean, she was doing, I mean, it was believable as the character of whatever that was supposed to be. So, yeah, I would give it about a 6 out of 10 personally. I thought it was fun. It was a fun episode and had enough interesting moments to keep me watching and not falling asleep like I did in the next episode.
So I think with Jeff has a big interest, Wojtek, in relationships in series, and like I said, I loved like the well drawn characters, seeing the skill. Like you had Peter Nida Miles as well, and I kept that secret that he turned up again.
He's always good, so I mean, he just sort of has that air of authority about him when he's in the scene. He seems very believable in his part.
Yeah, I was told.
And I liked the fact that they were doing the sentencing and they had the background, which was the screen that showed the ship approaching. That was a nice touch.
Yeah. So the construction of it, where you had this sort of Greek chorus of Rontain and Burkle commenting on Servalan's machinations, and then Trooper Parr, played by Kevin Lloyd, who went on to become quite a successful actor.
Yeah, I like the parts with the guards too, and like everybody having to announce themselves in order to get through the door and all that stuff.
Yeah, I mean, Jeff, what did you think about this camaraderie between the Travis and the troopers? Like, do you think it was over the top? Like, why did they respect Travis so much? I mean, it was explained in the episode, but I didn't find it very convincing.
I don't know. To me, I guess it's just like and in sports, respect a coach, even if he's tough. If you feel like he's, the one that gets the job done, I think in other military people I've heard, I've never been in the military, but I've heard from people who, respected their commanding officers for the kind of similar reasons. So, he's sort of, he kind of earns respect from being like singularly minded, I guess, in his missions, whatever it is,
And also, we know that Travis does have some feelings like for people. Like, for instance, he had feelings for like he was pretty pissed off with Servalan when she engineered the death of the surgeon that saved his life at the end of season 1 in Orbit. I think it was Deliverance, not Orbit, sorry, Aurak. And when she says, "Seems I underestimated your ruthlessness." Yes. So yeah, that was the previous one, the better actor. Yeah, the new guy is okay, but I always think at times this guy's too good looking to be Travis, especially with his hair, his hairstyle. Right. Oh.
I don't find him good looking, so.
Okay. You don't find Blake good looking either.
No, I don't.
Oh, it is okay looking, Blake.
No, he's not like repulsive looking or anything. No, I actually use that as a point of respect to the show for casting someone who, it wasn't just like a pretty boy, you know, to be the captain, you know, to try to get ratings that way. You know, they had somebody who's not like traditionally good looking, you know, as the main part.
Yeah.
I thought that was a bold move, but a good one.
Yeah, good looking enough. And if you want good looks, you've got Jenna.
Yeah. So.
I loved her outfit, her like maroon sort of biker chick outfit. What did you think of that, Jeff?
You didn't load up the pictures like usual.
Yeah. I will load up the pictures. Yes.
I don't remember what she was wearing in this episode. It's been a few days since I saw it. So.
Yeah. What we got here? We've got Killer number 2. Right. I'm not going to take scans from Liberation because we've not got that much time, and right then I'll just close. Like that. So that's
You
all.
need to have like a button bin for like the generic music to play while you do stuff like that. You know?
Well, Wojtek and I were like talking for an hour.
Music.
All of this should have been pre-done. I'm terrible.
Like, am I the only one who knew that this was going to be a Blake review hangout and when it was gonna be? Because Jeff comes like 2 hours later and is surprised that it was set, and you Ben didn't know it either.
Okay. I mean, I knew Ben wanted to do it today. He had mentioned like doing it before I went to tennis, but he didn't say exactly when or anything. So I just sent him a message saying that if we're going to do it, it's got to be pretty soon. So.
Yeah. Okay. So right. I'll try and get through the grabs quickly because how much time have you got left, Jeff? Is it 40 minutes? I don't remember.
Yeah, about that. I mean, I need to leave by like 1:40 at the latest, so my time, which is about 55 minutes.
Right, so that's 7:40 my time. Right. Okay.
Yeah,
Right.
and when I say leave, then I mean leave the apartment. So. No.
Oh, right. Okay, gotcha. Right. Right. Grabs. Right. Documents. That's right. Right. Bluetooth. Right. So what we're gonna. Right. So what I'm going to do here, because of the time factor, I'm not going to show all these slides, but I will show Jenna, and which is the main area of interest. And I'm going to see what other kind of photos are in here. Right. There's nothing in there. Right, that one. Right, that was a like test photo. Right, then it's going to be just a selection of, because I've taken scans from the maximum power book, which is usually good for a laugh. And Wojtek, your webcam's on off rather. Dolphin, Bluetooth. What? Right, okay. Then
I think what some people like. What we talked about with Homicide, where there's some people that kind of want more like car chases and shooting and stuff, as opposed to being more character and dialogue, and them sort of having to find a balance there. You could say the same thing is true with like sci-fi type stuff, like Seven, where to me the best part of this one was like sort of the space battle kind of element of it, the attack on the base and the escape and all that. But if you just had a bunch of that would probably start to get boring too. So it's good to sort of mix that up a little bit. But in general, so far I've preferred things that were more action in Blake 7, whereas in Homicide it's actually been sort of the opposite. So it's interesting that it feels that way. But maybe it's just like I don't maybe connect with the characters as much on Blake 7. So it's sort of like, well, they need to be doing something because they're not super interesting if they're not.
Right. I've got that's for the next episode. And then here we go, Trial by Chris Boucher. And then we go, this is just the Trooper Par by Kevin Lloyd. And then we've got Nida. Right, there he is, Senator Secretary Rontain. Right, so people can see that. This guy, John Savadance. He went on to play. I say, what's his name? A butcher in Coronation Street. We look after us. Then you got Thania. And then you got the trial. Right, this is where he's charged, and what I can do is, okay, I will show Jenna in her suit, and then I'll show a little bit from Zil, and then I'll show Travis's speech. There you go, Jeff.
What does Jinkin 1 mean?
I have not an idea. So
I wondered if that was something made up for the show, or whether that was an actual term for something. So I was curious.
So what did you think of this outfit?
It's kind of power sports looking.
I think she's got quite a good waist to hip ratio, and as Sammy the Vet as now you can see here how thin Jan Chapel was.
In the outfit though, Jenna looks better from the back than the front.
Ooh. Yeah, I got a few more of those later on. What we got here? Is this more Jenna? No, probably a bit more Jenna here. And then I'll... Right, and then here's the bit here. I did kill Gan. For nothing, an empty room, a trick, an illusion. Right. Bit more Jenna. There you go, you like her from behind. And this was a good line. Is it that Blake has a genius for leadership, or merely that you have a genius for being led? And I think Morgan said at the time, that was a bit weird, his point.
Yeah.
Right, and then we've got Zil. I like this stuff because, and I agree with the Liberation book, that it's sort of mirrored, and it's sort of allegorical about oneness being individuality. And that is oneness.
Really NF to me, though.
Oh yeah, super duper.
Your oneness.
Yeah. Are you ready to be absorbed? And so I sort of see the parallels between absorbed into the Federation, assimilated into the Federation. And then here, you are newly hatched. Zil saw you come to oneness. But your movement was slow. Zil risked oneness to waken you, so risked her life. My oneness is Zil, my name is Zil. Keep distant. Zil and Blake must be alone to live. And then we've got the... Is Blake afraid to be alone? All must stay alone or wake the host. And of course, the opposite with Blake, where him for him to be together with the crew. Eat lightly, move quickly, so the host is not aware of your oneness. So the idea is that if the parasites are too close together, the host planet will become aware of them and absorb them. And I thought this was quite moving when she wants him to leave so that he doesn't die because she's protected of him. The host, what did you think about the moment she died and was sucked into and then the eggs? Because the eggs can survive the cleansing period and be reborn to repeat the cycle. And then Blake feels responsible for her death as well. Their skin is strong and they cannot be absorbed.
I mean, what I liked about this variation on the living planet theme, as Jeff said, I mean, it has been done to death by other sci-fi stuff. But in this one, we are sympathizing with not the planet, but the parasites.
Yeah.
So that's interesting. I mean, that's an interesting angle on that.
I mean, I was thinking about the individuality aspects.
I couldn't help think, feed me Seymour.
Then he goes, next time he'll do it in his cabin. And then there's a little bit more.
That's what we said all along.
A little bit. Just stick to action, Blake. That's what you're good at. It's a little thing. Yeah, here we go. This is where Avon is very cynical of his tactics. Of what I'll do is I'll speed through these rather than read them out, so the audience can see it and think for themselves about the.
By the way, do you think that Avon has a point here? I mean, he.
That's the thing. That is the thing with this relationship, is that usually you would see in drama he'd just be an a-hole, because a lot of the time you think actually Avon's half right in his thoughts on Blake, and half the time Blake's right, because Blake is a fanatic.
Yes.
He's right, but he's a fanatic.
I don't think it's half.
Well, it depends. A fraction, at a certain point.
I would say more than half of the time.
Ooh.
Yeah. Ooh.
I think especially in the exchange they had in the slides a few slides back, it shows that Blake is really yeah, you caught me. That was what I did. But I got the feeling he is not negating, he's not trying to convince Avon that his theory about why he did it is wrong. Oh yeah, and then that whole speech of Travis was pretty great. He was silent all the time, and then he did this very passionate speech about him being a monster because they made him a monster. Which, yeah, I mean, the logics of it don't work out, but from a dramaturgic perspective, it was good.
Yeah, I found that many instances. Oh yes, I put something here, in between trial scenes. Seems Travis had a shave because no growth. He goes back to his cell and it's the next day, and there's no beard, no growth. And then you can see how bloodshot her eyes are. She had a traumatic private life. I do think she's a good actress. And then that's where they sentence him.
And yeah, and then they make this logical argument. Yes, we trained you to kill, but not to murder a bunch of people for no good reason.
It also shows you that the Federation is not. It's not written, say, in that it has this nuances to it, where it has this sort of surface of legitimacy.
But we get to see the behind-the-scenes stuff, like this two senators or whatever they are that participate here. We see all the backroom stabbing and their strategizing, their power play with Servalan.
Yeah, I like the scene you're showing now, the escape scene.
Yeah. That was quite well done. That was quite convincing.
Yeah, one of the more realistic fights they've had, as opposed to the fake slapping.
Yeah, I mean that's like a pretty good contact.
Yep.
Just speeding through these so I can. And then the little things with mutoids blank their minds. Now I just think as I watch this, how good this would be if they remade it. Like it would just be so good. And of course, certain scripts they can don't need to remake, like Bounty, or Jeff would say the ones we like Shadow and Weapon. Although I think you're a bit half and half, Wojtek, on Weapon.
Yeah, I've been half and half. Shadow I liked. It was interesting. I didn't like the whole Aura gets possessed by an evil spirit from from another dimension part, because it's so silly. Why? I mean, they have they introduced this supercomputer as a character, and they do something so out there with him. He gets possessed by some evil spirit from the fourth dimension, and why? What purpose does it serve? I think the only purpose it served was to get Kelly a part to play, so she could finally use her telepathic powers for something.
Well, it was integrated because of Shadow was from that organism that had telepathic abilities.
Yeah, and I mean they could have left it at that. This plants, these discs that were actually conscious and telepathic. They could have done something with that for Kelly. I don't know. She can communicate with them, and they used as plot element to defeat the Federation on this planet somehow. By the way, they destroy all of this.
Yeah, exactly. Yes, they killed them all except for one.
They nuked the planet, right?
Yes. Yeah, they burned them all to death. They killed all those little creatures.
Yeah, and we have a scene there where she's talking so gently about these creatures, and then they nuke them.
It's such an interesting character, Blake, because it's so ruthless. Because he's been the stuff he's been through. And like I said,
they didn't think about that, in the making of these episodes, how they presented it. I mean, if they would think about the consequences of this, that Kelly would be not fine with destroying this life forms that just helped her out of her prison. So she would there would be a reaction shot, like Kelly would be like, no, or we can't do this. I was expecting that she would be giving a speech about we can't just destroy them, but they don't do this. They just say, they even give this shadow addict this role to push the button to nuke them.
Oh yeah, I mean, if they were redoing it, the new Kelly would probably go up to him and slap him across the face.
Yeah. Yeah, that would be an interesting part where there is where we show that Blake gets more and more fanatic and is estranging the crew. Like, so there's a rift building up between him and the rest of the crew. But yeah, I mean that's what I mean. Blake has like a lot of interesting parts, and you see the nucleus for something that could be great, but they don't do anything with that. It's always just this nucleus that is interesting. That's nice, but they don't like evolve this into something really good.
Ben, you said that
Yeah, we're going to.
you knocked off a point from a model citizen and homicide
Yeah.
because of the romper room opening. I would say that this episode I'd almost do that because of the sitcom ending, the last picture.
Yes, I did that with the laughing like.
Yeah,
The
joke and everybody throws back their heads and laughs. And
Yes,
Yeah, but that was.
exactly.
I might knock off half a point.
Yeah,
Right,
yeah.
So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to end this. I'm going to start the next one because we've got about half an hour to fit the next one in, or maybe 25 minutes. So it's goodbye from me.
Bye.
Right.